Hello everyone, my name's Candy Sinatra, represented by an anime girl that I edited, and this is a comprehensive summary of Bleach, the Hueco Mundo arc, for a book project. Yay! Alright, so some things I need to clarify before we get started is that this arc kinda is deep into the story. A lot of things have happened up until this point, so I actually have to talk about another arc called the Rancor arc beforehand, or else a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense. So just get ready for a lot of context really quickly, because that's what I'm going to try and do. Shotgun fire, context round. I think that we should start about talking about characters. Now, I mind you that in this section, I'm going to be talking about the characters' personalities and what makes them important, so I might bring up some terms that I will re-explain later in the video, so please do not worry, some things might fly over your head. But let's start with Ichigo. Ichigo is the main character. He's the center of the story. He's got all of the cool abilities and stuff like that. And by that I mean he is a Soul Reaper. Soul Reapers are essentially Grim Reaper samurais. A lot of the main characters are Soul Reapers, and he's like one of the most powerful ones. He's got a cool sword called Zangetsu. Zangetsu is really important for both this arc and just every arc afterwards. And Zangetsu is a thing called a Zanpakuto. They are swords that are manifested from the soul. All of that gets explained in a later arc, but I just thought that you would want to know now. Now also, some other characters that are important. Chad. Chad is Ichigo's best friend, and he loses like a lot. He loses very often. Have you ever heard of something called the Worf effect? Search that up, and you'll understand. There's also Uryu. Uryu is a lot more of an interesting character. Uryu is a Quincy, which is a kind of extinct race of humans. He's kind of the last one, who use energy bows to kill hollows. I can't really get into their mythos right now because you know, it's not really important, but just know that they get important way later down the line in another arc called the Thousand Year Blood War. But not this arc. So sorry, Uryu. Into the trash. The next character that I need to mention is Orihime. Orihime is the character that kind of started this entire arc. She got kidnapped a while back, and now everyone's coming to try and save her. That's kind of it. She has some interesting powers, and she does have an interesting character, but it doesn't really get fleshed out like later on or in the arcs prior, or even this arc, honestly. Orihime is kind of just there as a plot device for the most part. She has some interesting character development with a certain villain, but other than that, she's kind of just kidnapped girl. And with Orihime done, that covers all of the human characters and most of the main characters, but there are a few Soul Reaper and Hollow characters, don't worry, I will explain what a Hollow is later, that are important. So here we go. Rukia is a really cool character, but she was a lot more important in the last arc, where she was the one that was kidnapped. Luckily, she's no more independent in this arc and is actually doing something, because she's got a cool ice Zanpakuto. Oh yeah, she's a Soul Reaper, and the person who gave Ichigo his powers, which is really important because he kinda owes her his life. So yeah, she's cool. You also have Renji, who was a lot more important in the arcs, like beforehand, so all you need to know is that he's also a Soul Reaper, he's one of Rukia's best friends, and he's kind of just Chad, but if you gave him a sword. So yeah, he loses. Now, with all of the main characters done, I can talk about the Hollows, because they are super important. They're basically demons that consume souls, and they have these cool masks on their face, which is really, really important. So keep in mind, Hollows have masks. They live in this place called Hueco Mundo, which is where the Orihime got kidnapped because of a guy named Aizen, who was the main villain of most of Bleach, but right now he's not important for this arc. Some other villains that he created are important, and that's who I'm going to be going over next. So yeah. Those villains he created are called the Espada, and there's only a few that are actually important for this arc because a few of them left to go to the Karakura town in the human world, so they're not in Hueco Mundo during the Hueco Mundo invasion. So, yeah, The only ones that are important are this My Chemical Romance looking guy. His name is Ukiora Schiefer. We got Grimjow Jaggerjax, also known as my kin. We got Noitora. I don't know his last name, and honestly, I don't care about his last name. Yami Yargo. I think that's how you pronounce it. He's just big and angry and loud. Oh, and then you got Aranero Arueri, who I nearly forgot about in this summary. I will get into their characters during their fights. Now, I should also mention that they are Arankar, which is just a cool term that means that they are hollows who have removed their mask and attained the powers of a Soul Reaper. That also leads me to another set of like characters called the Vizards, who can obtain hollow masks to use them as like a power boost. That's another thing that's really important because Ichigo has a hollow mask, and that is a big part of his struggle during the last arc and this arc. Okay. Now, with all that explained, I can finally get into the actual meat and potatoes, the summary. So, get ready. Welcome to Bleach, the Hueco Mundo arc. Ichigo, Uryu, and Chad get help from Kisuke Urahara, who is a Soul Reaper guy. He's just really smart, and he's planning a bunch of stuff. All you need to know is that he's a good guy, and he created a portal that is allowing them to go to Hueco Mundo. And that's what they do. They go through the portal, and they end up in Hueco Mundo, which, as you saw in the pictures, is kind of just a bland desert that doesn't really have much, except for, like, crystalline trees. Oh, and apparently a child. This is Neliel to Oldenjvok. She is not an actual child, but this is the form that she takes throughout most of this arc. Basically, all you need to know is that she used to be an Espada, but now she's a child, and that's going to come up later when they fight Noitora. Just going to spoil that right now. Yeah, there's also these other two guys, Dondachaka and Pesci. We don't care about them. I had to remember their names for this just so that you didn't ask questions. Oh, God. They're just bad comedic relief, okay? But anyways, the gang has these three characters now, and they're not really going to do anything until, like, the Noitora fight. So just know that they're here, and they're coming with them as they go to Las Noches, which is Aizen's castle. So the trio now has to deal with being a parent while also gaining a few new allies, because Rukia and Renji are here, apparently. Yeah, these four break into Las Noches and then have to split up on some Scooby-Doo type crap. It just leads to a bunch of useless fights. Ichigo fights some guy named Dodorni. I think it's Dodorni. Yeah, he fights him, he wins, and then runs for a minute. Also, Nell's with him, that's important later. Chad fights this other guy that I don't know the name of, and I don't care. Anyways, he gets a really cool power-up called Brazo Escuerda del Diablo. It's really cool. His final attack is called La Muerte. It's so awesome. And, there he goes. He's beaten by Noitora. Chad loses! Anyways, Uryu fights some woman named Sandwich, Saruchi Sandowick. He beats her using a friggin' lightsaber because Uryu is the best. Renji is just left running for a while. We'll cut back to him when Uryu gets there because of an important fight. And lastly, Rukia. She actually has something important going down because she is about to meet the first of the Espada. So Rukia looks like she finds somebody that's familiar, some guy named Cayenne. Okay, I need to explain this. Cayenne was the lieutenant of the squad that she works for, of the Gote. I'll explain that later. Yeah, he was a really good friend of her mentor. It was really cool. And then he got possessed by a hollow after that killed his wife. And then she had to kill him. And now Rukia is just riddled with legitimate survivor's guilt and probably needs to go to therapy. But, fighting this imposter should do about the same thing. And that's because this is Aranero Arueri, who has the ability to copy people that it's eaten, because it ate the hollow that ate Cayenne, which is really sadistic. And that's what it does. It just kind of tortures Rukia with the fact that it can mimic her friend's face. Luckily, it's weak to sunlight and stabbing, as Rukia fights it and then nearly dies, but not before, stabbing it in the friggin' head. While that's going on, Uryu and Renji find each other, along with Dondachaka and Pesci, and they run into this guy named Zayalaporo Granz, who I forgot about in the Espada lineup. which is really funny considering that I thought that the only character that I'd forget would be Aranero. So sorry, Zaya Laporto. You're really gross, so I'm not all that sorry. Anyways, so they run into Zaya Laporto, and they do some really cool combo attacks, and they think that they beat him, and then Zaya Laporto goes, oh, cool, thanks for the research, I'm now going to neutralize all of your abilities. Get screwed, losers, I'm gonna go get dressed. And then he just leaves them there. So that's nice. Also, Chad's still dead, and Ichigo's still running. Just lots of running. He'll get there eventually to fight Grimmjow. Oh yeah, let's talk about his feud with Grimmjow. During the Arrancar arc, when Ichigo was kind of going through depression, just like actual clinical depression, the Arrancar were showing up and just screwing over everybody, specifically Grimmjow, who just had it out for Ichigo. He stabbed Rukia, he beat the crap out of Ichigo several times and still wants to do it. He did it with his arm chopped off at some point because Grimmjow was just the maddest of lads. And right now, Ichigo just had to fight through actual depression so that he could get strong enough to beat him. And even then, it still hasn't worked. So we're hopefully Ichigo strong enough to beat him now in Hueco Mundo, because every time that he uses his Hollow Mask, it's getting stronger and he's getting stronger. But that's also kind of an issue because the stronger the Hollow gets, the closer it gets to taking over his body. Or that's what he thinks, because in reality, the Hollow inside of him is actually Zangetsu, and so it's always trying to help him. It's never actually trying to hurt him. It just has like a malicious way of showing it so that he can get stronger. It's like a teacher, and I'm rambling. So basically, Ichigo wants to kill Grimmjow because Grimmjow is kind of just beating the crap out of him at every point. Now it's time to focus on Orihime, because she's been doing something for once. She's been talking to Ukiura, who looks like the embodiment of nihilism, because that's what he is. Oh yeah, fun fact, all of the Espada are like embodiments of the causes of death. So nihilism, despair, anger, old age, stuff like that. Just thought that I should mention that because I think it's really interesting and it's a big part of the story, but anyways, who cares? Well, they've been having some very interesting chats about, well, the heart and what it means to have emotions and a will to live. Me too, buddy. Me too. And that becomes important when Ichigo just shows up. Yeah, he's just here now. He made his way here. And so he decides, oh, you know what? I'm just going to scrap with Ukiura. And that goes about as planned, considering that Ukiura is several times stronger than Grimmjow. And, well, Grimmjow is the person to beat as of this moment, so... Yeah, Ichigo gets folded, thinks that he's the strongest Espada. He isn't, hoo-hoo. And that kind of just crushes Ichigo's heart and soul for at least a second, but then before he can just get friggin' murdered, Grimmjow shows up and seals Ukiura away. Also, remember when I said that he got his arm chopped off? Orihime healed that a while back. So he has both his arms now. Cool. And so now that Grimmjow's here, he's ready to just beat the crap out of Ichigo again. So he takes him, makes him go to Orihime and goes, hey, heal this dude. And then proceeds to say, yo, once you're fully healed, me and you are gonna scrap. So then I can finally murder you. Okay? Okay. And then Ichigo just goes, don't worry, I'm gonna beat the crap out of him. And then they have a really epic battle. I almost said fattle. What's a fattle? I don't know. Anyways, they have a really epic battle. Grimmjow turns into a kitty cat. Ichigo uses his hollow mask, and Orihime kind of goes, I don't know what it is about his eyes, but they don't feel like Ichigo. He kind of feels like a demon, and that's important for later. Just keep that in mind. And so Ichigo fights him. He has a really metal line where he stops his claw and then slashes him, and the fight ends with Ichigo winning. Or at least it looks like that. And then Grimmjow gets up and he's like, oh, this fight isn't over. And then Noitora just shows up and KOs Grimmjow. Don't worry, he's not dead. So yeah, Noitora's just here now, and he's going to just murder... He's gonna murder Ichigo. Oh no. But hey, Nell remembers things and becomes adult Nell once again because her and Noitora had a feud. Actually, Noitora is the reason that she's a child because he tricked her and then he slashed her in the back, which caused her mask to crack, and now her leaking spiritual pressure causes her to maintain as a child form. And that's okay, I guess. Oh, also, Don'tachaka and Pesce were her, like, underlings, but not, like, they were, like, her royal bodyguards, and they were pretty cool. Anyway, she fights Noitora. It looks like she's gonna win, but it turns out Noitora is a lot stronger than he used to be, and also she turns back into a child, so that's not looking good for their odds. All hope seems lost when, holy crap, is that Kenpachi? I got murder on my mind. I got murder on my... Yes, the king of Bleach Black Air Force Energy is here, and he's ready to wreck shop. Oh yeah, Kenpachi is a captain of the Gotei 13, which is basically just the Soul Reaper government. There are a bunch of really strong Soul Reapers. That's what the captains are. He runs Squad 11. Kenpachi himself is just one of the most powerful. He is basically insane. He likes fighting people, and he is about to just destroy Noitora, which is what happens. Noitora and him get into a really bloody battle. Kenpachi is really enjoying it because he's, again, insane. Then, when he realizes that he is, like, nearly about to die, he just puts his other hand on his sword and swings with two hands and nearly one-shots Noitora. And then Noitora gets back up to try and fight again, and then... well, Kenpachi kills him. Oh my god, one of the Espada is actually dead. Oh wait, Arniñato died. Oh my god, two of the Espada are dead. Wait a minute, that's a good thing. So yes, Noitora is officially dead. RIP. Actually, no, I don't care about him. But anyways, yeah, so Noitora's dead. Ichigo's getting healed by Orihime. Everything seems hunky-dory except, oh no, Ukiura broke out of his shell. Or he broke out of the dimension he was sealed in. And now it's time for Ichigo versus Ukiura. Except not, because that's the final fight of the final battle of this arc. So I'm going to get into that later. For now, let's talk about Uryu and Renji versus Szayelaporro. What's happening with Noitora? Renji, Don'tachaka, Pesce, and Uryu were all fighting Szayelaporro. And it wasn't going well. He was kind of just outsmarting them and coming up with new plans to just annihilate them, and he was talking about how perfect he was. He went into his Resurrection, which makes him really strong. Oh yeah, Resurrection, Shikai, and Bankai are all terms that show up in the series. It all has to do with the funny little swords called Zanpakuto, if you remember that. It's just upgrades and power-ups. That's all it is. So Resurrection and Bankai and Shikai are all just power-ups. Okay. But yes, Szayelaporro is in his Resurrection, and he's beating down on our heroes. Oh no. But hey, most of the captains are here. Who would have guessed, considering, you know, Kenpachi was here. So also is Mayuri, another one of the captains. He fought Uryu a while back during Rukia's kidnapping. Yeah, that was a big deal. Anyways, he's here now, and he's kind of like, hey, yo, dude, stop talking about perfection, because if you're anything like a true scientist, you would know that perfection is impossible, and also kind of cringe. And then he kills him after basically freezing him in time. And it's agony. It feels like torture. But yeah, Szayelaporro's dead. I didn't even talk about him. Oh yeah, there was another Espada that I just forgot. Zolmari. Yeah, he shows up to try and kill Rukia, but then Byakuya shows up. He's another one of the captains. He's Rukia's older brother, adoptive. It's weird. Brother-in-law. Byakuya married Rukia's sister, but his wife's dead. So, you know, they're like still siblings. It's weird. Anyways, yeah, so he shows up, he wrecks Zolmari. He beats the crap out of Zolmari. It's not important. Okay, anyways, that's it. Now we can talk about the meat and potatoes. Oh, wait a minute, Yami. I forgot about him. Yami's just kind of been around. He fought Ichigo for a minute during the fight with Ukiura. But then Uryu shows up to fight him, and Uryu literally just sends him careening down a building. And then that's the end of him for a minute. And then he comes back later after everything that goes on with Ukiura. But that's after Ukiura, so now let's talk about Ukiura. Alright. Ichigo versus Ukiura. The most important fight in this entire arc. Here we go. Okay, so Ichigo faces off with Ukiura, and it goes about the same as last time. Ukiura is just kind of beating the crap out of Ichigo, but he's holding his own a bit better because, Ichigo's been getting stronger over the course of the arc, and it's become a bit of an issue for most of the villains, but not Ukiura, because Ukiura is still just beating down on him. But Ichigo isn't giving up. Also, Yami appears at some point. As I said, Uryu shows up and they fight, and then they leave them alone. So Ukiura and Ichigo go back to fighting, and when Ukiura realizes that, oh, wait a minute, Ichigo is not going to give up at my current power, I need to go upstairs. So they travel up, so they fly up, and he creates a hole in the canopy of Las Noches, because apparently a castle has a canopy, like a jungle. I don't know why. But anyways, he goes up into the canopy of Las Noches, where he can finally use his resurrection. Segunde wait, no. Murcielago, like a bat. Segunda etapas later. But yeah, he turns into Murcielago, and this turns from a moderately even fight where Ichigo was, kind of holding his own, to Ichigo Massacre Day. This was worse than the beatdown with Grimmjow on God. Yeah, he just kind of gets destroyed. But Ichigo keeps fighting, and Ukiura asked him, "Hey, yo, why do you keep fighting?" And he gives probably the most metal line that I have ever said. I don't think that I can win. I'm fighting because I have to win. Yeah, that's cool and all. Anyways, Ukiura goes into his second release, which is like all of the Espada have only had one release so far, so this is like really surprising, and then murders Ichigo in front of Orihime and Uryu, who had flown up here as well. So yeah, Ichigo is just actually freaking dead since there's a hole in his chest. Orihime runs up to him and tries to heal him, and then he's just sitting there like, dying. Ukiura's just watching this like, dang, guess he's dead then. But then Uryu tries to fight him, which is the dumbest decision on his part. Yeah, the fight doesn't go well because Uryu gets his hand ripped off. It's because he uses a bow, and a bow is a two-handed weapon. And so, he has to do that. But hey, he's got a lightsaber. Oh, nope, that doesn't work either. Who would have guessed? But yeah, Ichigo is friggin' dead. Or so we thought. He's like, oh, I gotta keep fighting because, Orihime's counting on me. Love interest powers, apparently. And, yeah, so remember when I said that his inner hollow was trying to take over? That happens! Yeah, so Ichigo becomes just the devil. And this is compared to Ukiura, who was supposed to be motifed after the devil. So yeah, he just becomes the devil and starts just destroying Ukiura. It's just a bloodbath. Ukiura is throwing attacks that are strong enough, that are like stronger than anything else in the entire series, and he literally crushed it with his bare hands. Oh my god, he's so cool. Anyways, yeah, so he just starts brutalizing Ukiura, and then. But it's kind of like he's a monster, and then his friends are like, "Hey, yo, you gotta stop doing this. Don't become evil." And then Ichigo snaps out of it, and he becomes human again. Kind of cringe, not gonna lie. But anyways, yeah, Ukiura's still alive, but only for a second, because he's immediately like, "Okay, let's finish this fight. All right, Ukiura, I'm gonna finish this my way without being a hollow." And then Ukiura's like, "All right then, I'll do this. I'll just rip off your arm so that it's fair." And Ichigo's like completely fine with this. Until Ukiura just starts turning to dust. Yeah, he got beat down so hard that he gets Thanos snapped by existing for just a few seconds afterwards. God, this arc is so cool. Anyways, yeah, so Ukiura dies, but not before he, learns what the heart means, what it means, which also is probably the reason that he died, considering he's the embodiment of nihilism, and understanding emotion and having a will to live kind of goes against his entire existence. Anyways, but yeah, Ukiura's dead. And with that, this arc is basically over. Ichigo fights Yami a little, but then he kind of leaves that to the rest of the side characters that are also kind of main characters. Just like everyone else who was in Hueco Mundo decides to fight Yami, who goes into his first and second form, and he says that he's the strongest Espada, but in reality it was probably Ukiura, because, it's Ukiura. That was like the coolest fight ever. If he wasn't the strongest, that would just be lame. But yeah, so there we go. Arc's basically over because after that, Ichigo decides that he's going to go fight in the Katakura town in the human realm because of the whole war going on in there. And that's its own arc. So yeah, there you go. A semi-comprehensive summary of Bleach, the Hueco Mundo arc. Hopefully, that was good enough for my book project. I am so tired!